Measuring your bit.
I'm going to talk you through how to measure the bit correctly, how to measure the length of the mouthpiece, this is the length, how to measure the diameter, the actual thickness, and how to measure the actual internal diameter of the rings. There are many legal requirements when it comes to the actual diameter of the rings. For instance, these are a 70 mil, and I would actually lay my ring. I'm measuring the actual internal thickness, not the ring itself, and that would give me a 70 mil measurement. 80 mil is now as large as you can be for dressage legal requirements. 14 mil, for instance, you have to be 14 mil plus in order to be legal for a young horse class. There are also certain requirements when it comes to dressage Weymouths, which we'll go into later. So we've measured the actual internal diameter, which has given us the ring size. This is a 70, but we also have, for the Bradoon to work in conjunction with the Weymouth, we have a smaller, neater ring, which is a 55. And to actually measure the length of the mouthpiece, it's easier to use a ruler because a cloth tape actually can be inaccurate. Cloth tapes do stretch, whereas the rigidity of the ruler, you do get, an accurate measurement. So we literally are pulling it apart. We've got some tension actually on the ring, so the mouthpiece is fully extended, and we are actually measuring from inside the ring straight across to inside the other ring. So we are incorporating part of this hole at either side to measure the actual loose ring. And I'm laying that on there, and that's giving me a 5-inch measurement, which would be a 127. So that is how we measure the actual length, pulled apart from inside ring to inside ring. When it comes to measuring the diameter, the thickness, we do lay the bit on the table like this, so the rings are flat. And the diameter reading is taken from adjacent to the ring. That's how it is described on the FEI website for, to be able to comply with any legal criteria. So if you have a pair of calipers, this will actually give you a very accurate reading, and we would just pop them on like so, and then the actual measurement would be flashed up on the screen, and this is exactly 16 mil. But we don't all have a pair of calipers at home. These are actually called a vernier gauge, to give them their correct title. So it's actually quite easy. What we do is we literally lay the bit at right angles over the ruler, and we look straight down, and we imagine two perpendicular lines coming up just here adjacent to the ring at the fattest part, and that will actually give us the reading of the thickness, the diameter of the mouthpiece. We do have on our website, we have diagrams that are very, very clear, that again, will actually depict exactly how we measure, and you may find that quite useful. But basically, that's how you take the measurement of the internal diameter, the length of the mouthpiece, remember to pull it apart so it's fully extended, and the diameter adjacent to the actual ring. Here we have the 16 mil Neue Schule trans-angled lozenge full cheek. Now the way that we actually measure the mouthpiece is pulled apart So it's fully extended, so we're taking the longest possible measurement. We've got some tension on these rings, and we're measuring just below the mouthpiece from inside cheek to inside cheek, and this is what will give us the actual length of the mouthpiece. Now it's better to use a ruler because the ruler is rigid, it's not going to stretch, unlike a cloth tape. Cloth tapes could potentially stretch and give you an inaccurate sort of reading. So all we need to do is literally slip the bit on top of the ruler and pull it apart so it's fully extended, looking down over to make sure, you know, that we are accurate. And basically this is measuring a 5 1/4, which would be a 133 if we converted it. If we wish to take the diameter, the thickness of the mouthpiece, this is taken right next to the actual cheek. And you could use a vernier gauge if you have a vernier gauge, and basically we would switch it on and measure from inside to inside. We would close this part up so it's touching literally inside to inside, and I'm pushing that right up against the cheek, and then the measurement would flash up actually on the screen, and this is measuring a 16 mil. However, you know, we don't all have a vernier gauge at home, so the best way to achieve this would be to actually lay the mouthpiece at right angles over the ruler, and just imagine 2 perpendicular lines, and the measurement has to be taken literally adjacent, right next to the actual cheek, to give us the measurement that would count when it comes to assessing whether this bit is dressage legal. 14 mil would be the minimum legal requirement, say, for a young horse class. When it comes to actually measuring the ring, we can slip the internal diameter. We're not actually incorporating the ring itself. We would slip the actual ring again over the ruler, and we would measure the internal diameter, and this one is a 40 mil. To measure the actual cheeks, we measure from top to bottom, and we incorporate the little bobbles, and that's actually quite easy to do. And so basically, same principle, over the actual ruler, looking down over so it's accurate, and this measures exactly 6 inches. And that is basically how we measure a full cheek. A full cheek comes under the heading, the umbrella of fixed cheeks. And one thing to bear in mind is, if you're actually going into a loose ring from a fixed cheek, you would probably need to go up 1/4 of an inch, because in that instance you actually are incorporating the holes in the measurement, and you really want the horse's lip to sit clear of the holes. You don't want a great gaping gap, but literally just sitting clear of the holes at rest and when a contact is taken. We don't want the lip to actually go over the beginning of the hole. And again, with the fixed cheek, we require a snug fit. We need to allow the horse's lips to actually spread naturally and just brush up against the actual cheek. Just literally spread naturally and just brush gently. We don't need a gap at all. We do need a snug fit with a fixed cheek, and that's whether it's a full cheek or a D-ring or an egg butt. And there we have it, the Neue Schule Trans Angled Lozenge full cheek. Here we have the Neue Schule Warm Blood Weymouth, and this is our average length of shank. This is a 7 centimetre, and we actually measure, I'm just going to swizzle it around to make it easier for me to work, we actually measure the bottom shank from just below the mouthpiece, so we're touching the mouthpiece, to the actual bottom of the shank itself. We don't measure the ring, we don't measure this. This is 7 centimetre from just underneath the mouthpiece against the cheek to the bottom. This is 7 centimetre. The legal limit would actually be 10 centimetre for dressage. There isn't any sort of legal limit for the show ring as such. And we do actually do a 9 centimetre. This again, the measurement will be taken in exactly the same fashion. This is a 9. And we also do a 5 centimetre. And again, the reading would be taken in exactly the same fashion. If we do extend below, in order to maintain the balance, we would actually extend above, so it wouldn't throw the balance out. We would measure the actual length of the mouthpiece from inside cheek to inside cheek, and it doesn't matter whether you measure above or below, but obviously with this forward facing shape, it's actually easier to measure across here. And in order to obtain this measurement, we would literally just slip the ruler underneath, and we can immediately see, looking down over, that this one is a 5 1/4 from inside cheek to inside cheek, and that would work out at a 133. The actual diameter of the mouthpiece, the thickness, is taken with the bit laying in this fashion, and it's taken next to the cheek, adjacent to the cheek. And if you're lucky enough to have a vernier gauge, then this does give a very accurate reading, and you would switch it on and then extend the arms and literally slide it against the cheek and close it up like so, and the reading would actually flash up on the screen. And this one is 14 mm diameter, but we don't all have a vernier gauge at home, so the best thing to do is to use a ruler and actually lay it at right angles over the ruler, and the measurement we need is here, so we would imagine 2 perpendicular lines, and that would give us the actual thickness, the actual diameter, the measurement. And there we have it. That is the Neue Schule Warm Blood Weymouth.
For further product information, please visit your local authorised Neue Schule retailer. Details of stockists are available on the Neue Schule website at www.nsbits.com/stockists.